Poetry.
Let's give it some lip.
Chat out.
Welcome everyone, and TB, always good to see you.
It is a pleasure as always.
Yes, I think today we all, today have a change and look at some poetry.
Yeah, so we've been very heavy recently, so the poetry today I think will lighten the load for me mentally.
Yeah, I hope so, yes. There's been a few of our topics have taken us into complexities and nuances that are difficult to navigate.
Yeah, they have. They're the more serious side to poetry that is thought-provoking.
Necessary.
Necessary, but it forces us to think, right?
That's right. Whereas these poems are about selfhood.
Yeah.
These poems are kind of about recognizing your place amongst the elements. And I'm really excited for these.
I am. For me, as I read both pieces, it's about being, right? The essence of being, which should just happen. That's the best way I can think. It should just happen.
Yes.
It should be free. I felt for me it was a freeing of the soul. It was really a very freeing, uplifting, leaving the load behind kind of thing.
Yeah.
Experience.
And I think what both of these poems do, which I love very much, is that they make you look inward to find your shape, not outward. And I love that because too often we're trying to look outside of ourselves and think, oh, how can I kind of contort myself and distort myself to fit in this frame or in this group or in this idea, instead of going, no, wait a second, what is it that motivates me?
Yeah.
What am I connected with intrinsically, and then how can I make that shine?
And that's good. And when we set out to do this, it really is about in ways in which poetry can inspire one. And so I'm very inspired.
Yeah,
I'm
my
very
ears.
inspired. Very
All right.
inspired.
Well, let's start with yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call this my new anthem.
Oh, it's an anthem.
It's an
I like
anthem. And I hope when people look at this, they see the anthem in it, right? So it's called When I Am an Old Woman, I Shall Wear Purple. And it's by the lovely Jenny Joseph.
Love it.
When I'm an old woman, I shall wear purple, with a red hat that doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves, and satin sandals, and say, we have no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired, gobble up samples in shops and press alarm bells, run my stick along the public railing, and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain, pick flowers in other people's garden, and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat, and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now, we must have clothes to keep us dry, pay our rent, not swear in the street, and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I am old and start to wear purple.
I love it. Oh my goodness, the imagery in there and how you can just see, and the voice that's created by all of these. It's just, you can definitely see that kind of rejection of confinement.
Yes, and everything you've been told, right? So it's all of the things that we've been told of who we are, but deep down our identity is very different, and it's that struggle. It's what society expects of us, and what, if we just freed ourselves up a bit, we could be.
Yeah.
So each time I think about it, I just feel like I need to find something purple.
Yeah.
I just need to find
I'm
something
surprised
purple.
you didn't have purple on today.
Yes, I was thinking about it, but it's not a color that's in my closet. I have to say to you.
Okay, we got to find
So
some.
I need to buy purple, and I need to buy that red hat.
Yes.
So what I love about this, and why I say it's an anthem for me, is it's a freedom that comes with just being oneself, right? Not the trappings of the society or conforming to what is expected of us, but the freeing of being, just be in the moment, being who we are.
Yeah.
and
celebrating that.
Yes, and how
And
light
not
that is.
apologizing for it
No.
either. Yeah.
No, this is me.
When I'm old, I'm going to do this.
I'm gonna
And
do
it's
this.
going to be accepted because I'm old.
For now,
For now.
I might just, do what you say for now. But
Yeah.
wait, I'm coming out. You know the song "I'm Coming Out." I
Yeah.
thought about I'm coming out. Exactly. I want the world to know. This is those two should go together.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's so many lovely moments in here, like the line "and learn to spit" is the
Yes.
only short line
Yes.
in the entire poem, and I love that because it just stands out, and it's that just almost like refusal
Yeah.
to participate in the social norms and everything. And if I want to, I'm going to spit.
Yeah, and it represents exactly the saying, "To heck with what society thinks," right?
Yeah, patooey on you.
Yeah. So I really like that. I really like that.
And yet the language itself with all these things that are being talked about is I shall, shall I compare thee? Like it has like these real elevated language choices, and yet it's talking about breaking down and railing against the conventions.
And what was really important to me is how you move from the I shall to the you can, sort of the permission stage, to the but I have to stage.
Yes.
And then back to the dream state of, but maybe I ought to practice a little now.
That's so good. Yeah, the I ams or I shall do this,
Yeah.
like in the future, that's on it.
Yeah.
And then the permission you can wear.
Yeah.
We must. But I ought.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it takes you to that journey, right? So for me, that's why I think of it as an anthem.
Yeah.
Is it takes me through that journey of, this is where I'd really like to be. This is what kind of conventional wisdom says.
Yeah.
This is really what's happening to me. But I need to give myself, because I ought to do this now. I ought to start now. The wonderful waves of this poem to me about all of these things that happen along the journey of being oneself. The things that we dream for ourselves, the things that we're told we must do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the permission we're asking of ourselves to be able to do it.
And some of those things about what I shall do are very interesting. Run my stick along the public railings. We kind of did that as kids. Did you ever pick up a stick and go along fence lines?
And that's kind of what I saw with the first stanza, is that when I'm a little lady, I'm going to be a kid.
I'm going to enjoy it.
I'm going to be a kid.
That's right.
Free myself from all of the drudgery of day to day. I'm just going to be a kid. I'm going to go back to that state when I cared, but I didn't care too much.
Gobble up samples in the shops.
Exactly. They're all things that I related to my own youth, right?
Yeah.
You're running out in the rain in slippers. You can't wear slippers out in the rain. Yeah. But you can. Or pick flowers in other people's gardens.
We used to do that as a kid because you didn't
Exactly.
realize.
Yeah. You were free from that. And the spinning for me was doing the one thing to say, no, I can do what I want.
Yeah. I wonder if as we age, of course society does it too, but also we put more and more boundaries in our behavior, and we constrain ourselves, cage ourselves in some ways.
I think we do. I think the idea of society in terms of conformity, it requires to some degree, or we think it requires to some degree, conformity to function. That we become less individuals and more like everything else because it's just easier, right? But is it better? Maybe not, right?
Especially if there's no place where you can allow that individuality to shine.
Yeah.
Like if you're always just conforming.
Yeah.
Then where do you go?
Yeah. And
seriously.
It does, but
Yeah.
it's like that. You go into a neighborhood where all the houses look the same, and you're just going, well, it's all the same house, right? But you go into a neighborhood that it can be different, and there's beauty in that for me. There's this beauty in the individual expression of who you are represented in where you live.
I wonder, like, this whole conformity thing, if you're thinking about, I don't know why this popped into my head, but thinking about housing tracts now and how a lot of the developments just have this
cookie cutter
houses and there's no character to them, and yes, we can fill them inside with with our uniqueness and
Yeah.
our
Different color
idiosyncrasies.
couch.
And yeah, exactly. I've got a really funny one.
Yeah.
But but from the outside, it must look
Yeah.
uniform. And I wonder if that's just a kind of a microcosm, a parallel of what society kind of forces us to do. You can't
Yeah.
look, you have to look the part, even if inside you're
not.
royally.
Yeah. So the first time, this is a poem that I've known for a lot of years, a lot of decades,
Nice.
I should say, and it's always been, circulating around in my head somewhere about I need to be myself. Like that's the thing that it's always like, are you yourself? Unapologetically me. And if you know me, I am usually unapologetically me, and this swirls in my head, right? And it swirls in my head in how much in society we don't want the individual. We want everything to be the same because it's just easier to manage, right? So we have the same set of rules for everyone. We have the same set of expectations to the point that we all dream the same dream. And for me, youth gives you the opportunity to dream differently. As we age, that dream is kind of shaped more for us about what we should expect. We should expect to own this. We should expect to do this. We should expect to be this. And this is always a reminder of the freedom that comes with youth. And the longer we can keep that going, the better off we are as people. Like if you can keep to your true intentions as a child, I think you will necessarily be a better adult.
Well, that's the other thing that happens. I'm right along with you there, is that what we lose by giving that away a lot of times is our creative imagination. And we go into stock standard conformity. And instead, and that's where a lot of people lose their creative, vibe. Their light. It goes out, or at least it's covered for a while, and then some people find it again. But a lot of people don't. They put that away as a childhood thing.
Childhood dream.
Imagination,
the fantasy,
something for the kids. But man, you think about any of the innovations and technologies that we enjoy is because someone imagined what it would be like if. And that idea of what would it be like if, I think we should all be thinking things like that. What if? And then creating in our mind ideas and opportunities, and who knows what could come out of just questioning, what if we did it this way? What if it wasn't like this? What if we added this? That's beauty. That's how we move our society out of ruts and any kind of conundrums that we've put ourselves in.
The boxes we build.
The boxes we build, and then we rail against them.
Correct.
It's so funny that this week, I don't know why, but in my mind I've been thinking, be careful of the monsters you create, because they will be the monsters that you hate. It's very interesting when you look back and you see all these kind of movements that have created these big things, and then they become the thing that we rail against. And it's like, wow.
Our own creation.
And we don't rail against ourselves for making it. We rail now against the thing that was created. And it's like, hang on.
but so the economist in me says that what she is alluding to some degree is the scarcity model, right? As we conform, we're all competing for the same things, right? So it's the economic traps that we put ourselves in, right?
And all we can
do is that, but it's limiting, right?
And all we can get is what we've forgotten.
Correct. But
Nothing new.
We're limiting. If we were to maintain the creative freedom of our childhood, maybe we wouldn't have one pie, but we'd have many different pies, right? So I think there's so many applications we can put in this, right?
So much.
And
I'm thinking education, how we cookie cutter, any one size fits all. And all of these policies that we put in place, I was just talking to a colleague about this today, is that every time we put a policy in place, we take away the agency of the individual. And now we all just follow the law, the policy.
Even when it doesn't make sense. So the railing, like I could hear, I don't know, if you could hear the cane against or stick against it, but I could do it because as a kid, I did that.
All the time.
You would do that. The sound it makes, the the pleasure I would get from just that music, like it was musical.
It was very musical.
Musical.
And
Annoying to the other people around it.
And you can tell if there was a problem with one of the posts that you ran against because it have a different sound than the other ones. Yeah, it was.
But you tried something different. You tried something new. So this whole way of being is about the freedom for us to be whatever the possibilities are, and in that comes one's true self and ways of being. So I'm going to practice for now.
That's good. And that idea leads us very nicely into the poem by Mary Oliver called Wild Geese. So Mary Oliver is an American poet. We lost her not long ago, unfortunately. But she won Pulitzer Prize. She won multiple awards. And this is one of the most downloaded poems of Mary Oliver's. And it goes like this. You don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
Love it, love it, love it. So this is the first time I've heard it, actually.
Oh, yeah?
First time, so
I'm glad to introduce you to this one.
Introduce you.
Yeah.
Time stops for no one.
Yeah.
Time stops for no one.
That's what came to your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind is life is going to happen. You get a choice in it, right?
Yeah.
Time stops for no one.
And where you spend your time. Like, tell me your despair and I'll tell you mine.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the world goes on. So we can sit here and just
we
wallow
can,
in all of our despair and
this
everything.
This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong.
Yeah. Or, offer itself to your imagination.
Correct. Yeah.
And sometimes we have to claw our way out of depression and despair and all those things.
Yeah.
And find that pathway back. But I love so many of these lines. That even that last one, it's announcing your place in the family of things. And I think we talked about in a previous podcast where we talked about that idea that the humanity poem, where when one suffers, we all suffer.
Yeah.
When one's rejoicing, we should all rejoice. Like it is this unity of things that we're looking for. One thing I didn't mention about Mary Oliver is that a lot of her poems came to her while she was walking in the woods.
Oh, wow.
So she's somebody, she says, I don't like buildings. Like I had to be out. And she would just have her notebook with her, and as she saw things, she would put them down. And she was being interviewed once, and she was asked, said that you spent a lot of time walking around in Ohio. And Mary Oliver said, yes, I did, and I think it saved my life. To this day, I don't care for the enclosure of buildings. It was a very bad childhood for everybody, every member of my household, not just me, I think. And I escaped it barely, with years of trouble. But I did find the entire world in looking for something. But I got saved by poetry. I got saved by the beauty of the world.
I love that, and it resonates so much. And as I read this, it's how sometimes we trap ourselves into these states, right? But if you go out in nature, you'll see that nature, the other things in nature don't stop, and this is not to say we don't have real challenges, right? Because we have challenges.
We do.
Yeah, but within the ecosystem, things have learned that navigating, by being a part of the family of these things, is the way to imagine something different, right?
Yeah.
No matter what you're going through, and if you get stuck in it, there's no way out.
Yeah.
You're imprisoned by that. But if you, like the wild geese, can go out and come home again, and the wild geese going home again for me was just really profound, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even in its wildness, it could go home again.
Yeah.
And I love the way she was able to look at the world around and make the parallel, right, between us and what else was happening within the greater family, right?
Yeah.
The greater family.
That's right.
In
That
all of this.
connectivity.
That connectivity in the greater family by observing how others are navigating through that.
That's right.
Right.
And the way it starts with the you
Yeah.
do not have to be good.
Exactly.
Because who's good?
Yeah.
Who's decided that? Like, what does that mean? Or you don't have to spend your life on your knees repenting, being sorry for
I'm
who
sorry
you
for
are.
everything and sorry for this. Yeah.
No, you are you,
Yeah.
unapologetically
Yeah.
you, going back to that, and you belong in the family of things.
Yeah.
And I think that is a beautiful message,
Yeah.
that you, as you are,
As you are.
belong in the family of things.
And the interesting choice, you don't have to be perfect. She didn't say that.
No.
You don't have to be good.
No.
Right?
No.
That's a lower standard, right?
Yeah. Us perfectionists are like,
you know,
oh, this is hard
you just have to be
today.
good.
Yeah.
You don't have to be good, right? And you don't have to be apologetic. You don't have to feel sorry.
Yep. Yeah.
Because in this family of things,
You belong.
all these possibilities are there for you, right? I just really love that, and I hope that others can take the poem out, just take it outdoors, and just feel the freedom. I wish we could today, but we're in a room because it's a podcast. But we've got to come up with more creative ways to do it.
All right, we'll work on that.
So, but just thinking about, like, I don't spend my time indoors. Like, I find it very difficult. Walls are not made for me.
Yeah. Good.
Right,
You're very
so
Mary Oliver-ish.
I'm very Oliver-ish. I'm very Joseph-ish as well.
Yes.
In that I want to be in the purple outdoors, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I like being out in the open air because it makes me observe the world around me differently. I watch. One of the fascinating things I do is watch the duck and the ducklings go
I love
across.
them.
You know, and I just love that.
Yeah.
In that moment, I just think of, well, is that community? You know, is that family? What is it? How
Yeah.
can I learn from it? And in this, it's like, go outside and I will observe the birds a little bit more.
And
right?
outdoors makes you more understanding that you are not the entire world.
Correct.
And if you're only
Yeah.
inside with only you, you become your focus.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go outside, you look around, you start to see other types of life, whether it be from like the animal world or the human world. You're watching and you're having interactions.
Yeah.
And you're a part of something. Yeah, so it's so important. And I think, we've talked a little bit about technology and how it's kind of making us focus more into our phone or our computer screen. And I think these poems are telling us, break away. Yeah.
And we're, as creatures, we're the only ones that value buildings, right? We're the only things in nature that feels that we have to build a building, right?
Exactly.
We create value in a structure versus value in being part of the whole system, right?
And that's interesting because the animals that do burrow or build things, they do it for family.
Correct.
They do it for community.
Correct.
Not just for themselves.
And they don't do it for architectural purposes. That's what I was trying to say. It doesn't have to look better than the others.
Yeah,
It
look
just
at
has to serve a
mine.
purpose.
Mine has a flare.
Correct. You imagine, them going around going, look, my nest is bigger than your nest. No, I don't think it happens, right?
Really?
Because the nest has a purpose that is about the family.
That's
the
right.
nest serves a purpose. We find value in things because they're bigger or bolder and brighter.
Yeah.
And in both of these poems, you're saying, rethink that, right?
Yep.
Rethink that.
Yeah. And know you.
The permission of self, right?
Permission to know you, but
Yeah.
permission to also understand that you exist within the scheme of something
Something bigger.
Yeah. Don't be so
Yeah.
insular in your
Yeah.
knowledge of yourself that you don't realize how
Yeah.
connected you are to everything else around you.
So, are we becoming a more narcissistic society, do you think?
Oh, that's a loaded.
That's a loaded one. Okay.
But I think that the social tools, the social mediums that we have, those social systems, networking.
Yeah.
They call it networking, but really, there's a lot of insular. Like a lot of people find common believers, whatever that might be, and they talk and fuel each other up in their own belief, and so there's less actual understanding of different ways of thinking,
Yeah.
and that that kind of thing where you're just insular of just listening to what you believe and only people who believe like you, that leads to narcissistic ideas.
Yes. And I think that it goes away from, I think in both of these poems it's about intention, right? The intention of really understanding how being you is important, and you don't have to let go of those things, and the intention of unapologetically being you by understanding that there's more to it than whatever the expectations are. So
and
the intention is self.
Yeah, and most of the social media sites are about look at me, look at me.
Yeah. I don't do social media, by the way.
That's good. That's good. Whereas I think, like, you know, we just need to be, I think we need to be interested in other opinions, other perspectives, understanding, I think we've said this before, but that just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean that they're evil.
Yeah.
You need to find out, okay, why do you believe what you believe? What are you basing that on?
Yeah.
Then you can see if it's evil. It might be. I'm not saying it's not, but it might not be.
Yeah.
They might be looking at it from a different perspective that you hadn't looked at it before. And now that doesn't mean you're right and they're wrong, but it just means, that opens up to different possibilities.
Yeah.
Something I hadn't considered, something I need to consider.
So when I was younger, I am attracted to people who don't believe what I believe, because the world would be very boring if I was listening to myself all the time, right? So, but when I was younger, you wanted people in the camp because you're part of something larger than what it is today. Today, we're happy to kick people out of the camp and be by ourselves, right? Which is just it's a very disheartening, thing that I am observing, is that we're so happy to just delve into ourselves that there can be, the family's not there. So in, both aspects of both poems, it's like you're part of a family, you're part of something big, and the society puts some boundaries on you, but you can start breaking free from that. You put boundaries on yourself, but you're part of the society, right? So we seem to be losing that to some degree. So how do we get people to just give themselves permission to be themselves? The unique, if you even want to call it a snowflake, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't matter. Snowflakes are great because they are snowflakes, right? That shouldn't be criticism. That should be, that's who I am. I don't have to apologize to you. And it takes all of us to make this family work, right? So we need all the snowflakes we can.
That's right. And one of the things you mentioned is that you listened to someone who had a different opinion than you, because you said it would be boring if you didn't. Now we don't, not all, but there's a majority of people that don't even want to listen.
How would I learn? What would I learn if all I did was listen to myself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't, that kind of echo chamber just doesn't even compute with me, because if all you do is hear yourself, there is no growth in that.
None
There's
at
zero
all.
growth in that.
No, zero.
Right? So we need the discourse of different opinions, because each child, when we're in childhood, we were more tolerant to people being very different. We were more tolerant to different ideas and different things, and we didn't categorize people. We'll kind of judge, but not judgy, if that makes sense. Judge, but not too judgy. But we still didn't repel those people because they were different. We were more attracted to them, because I don't know. When I was a child, I was attracted to things that were very different than me, people that were very different than me. Because that made it interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of search it out, and I think as you use that and you start conforming more, you start making a value judgment. So as a kid, it's less value; it's a judgment, but not a value judgment. We're not putting values on those judgments. I think as we age, we're putting values on that judgment, and there's a cutoff, right? You have to make the cut, or you don't even get a look in.
That's
and
right.
I think that's probably more disturbing.
Or having conversations only to prove yourself right.
Yeah.
Instead of just
more disturbing.
Rather than just, hey, tell me what you think, and just listening and going, wow, you've mentioned some things that I'm going to have to contemplate. Without going, now you mentioned this, but I really think what you meant was
gotcha.
And exactly. Those little gotcha moments, and it's like, that's not listening. That's like, I'm just waiting for you to say that word that I can jump on, so I can show that I'm superior. So that's horrible.
I'm going to wear my purple.
Nice.
I'm going to get a red hat.
Good.
And I'm probably get some yellow shoes, which she didn't say, but I think that's what's missing out of this for me.
Lovely.
Right? To get some yellow shoes.
That's good.
And go back to reminding myself of who I was at my best. And I think childhood is a time that we're at our best.
Yeah.
And we develop into something that is what is expected of us versus who we really want to be.
Yeah.
So I think at any age, I don't think you have to be an old lady to do this.
No, do it now.
And she's woman instead of lady, which
Yeah.
is interesting, right?
Mm.
Throwing it all away.
Yeah.
But I think that if I can, if I can just reach out to people to say, if you're in that headspace where you start questioning, think about both of these in terms of who you are and what you can do. You can free yourself to see more than what you think is holding you back.
Look beyond yourself.
And you can look beyond that, and you can also think about, who you really are, the person you want to be, and never forget that. Keep that very close and dear, and don't hand it over to anyone else.
Let your perspective of the world open up your imagination.
Yeah.
Don't just conform and accept the boundaries.
Yeah. We need snowflakes. Just remind them. Whenever someone
we
says
need
a
everybody.
term, when anyone says a term, think of it as a compliment that it was intended.
There you go.
Think of it as a compliment that it was intended. So, yes, both female poets. Jenny is British. Both poets, and it's I like to have that female perspective on self.
Yeah.
Because I think as women, we often lose our identity at different parts of our life, whether or not it's as a mother or as a wife, as a professional. Identity is something. I think it affects us very much so. And in both of these, I am left feeling very empowered about understanding and knowing my identity and being unapologetic about it.
Yeah, that's the role of poetry, isn't it?
It is.
And that's what I love about poetry too, is because you're getting so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
And through that, it makes you reevaluate your own life, your own areas of that might need to grow.
Yeah.
And be re-examined.
Love it.
It's so great. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. TB, it's been a pleasure as always.
I just thank you very much for introducing me to Wild Geese, because I needed it more than anything else. I needed it, so thank you very much for that.
No worries, and I can't wait till we meet back again.
Looking forward to it.